Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Josh, and today is episode 2 of Anatomy of a Fake Pair of Levi's, where I take photos that viewers have sent me to analyze, and I demonstrate to you why these jeans are fake and how you can spot them in the wild. Let's get into it. This jean was sent to us by a viewer, thank you very much, and the jean manufacturer is clearly trying to pass this off as a 501, which is like the classic Levi's jean. Let's get into why it's clearly not legitimate. So first we're going to start with the backside, and at this point it doesn't look entirely too suspect. You do have the patch, you have the tab, you have the arcuate, but each of them is a little bit off. The red tab appears to be a bit high on the back pocket. Typically it's a little bit lower than that. The arcuate is incredibly deep, far deeper than Levi's has really made in a long time. The patch itself doesn't look entirely too suspect, but it definitely looks like a more modern patch. It would not have been a vintage patch. These are clearly not a vintage pair of jeans, but they could be a modern pair. Let's see what else is going on. So here's where it really starts going south. Looking at the watch pocket area, you have this random like leatherish patch on the watch pocket. I've never seen Levi's do that, even in some of their most weird designs like the Levi's Moving On stuff. I never saw that. And then you have these big old giant rivets with the Batwing logo stamped on them. That just seems way out of proportion and not something that Levi's themselves would actually do. The Levi's silver tab line did have rivets that were a little bit bigger and had a little bit of branding on them like this, but far smaller and way more proportional. The inconsistencies continue on the button fly, and you have this Batwing stamped logo button again all the way down the button fly. I've never seen Levi's put the Batwing logo on the main button, closure button, and I haven't even seen them ever brand the buttons below that. So that's a little bit suspect to me right there. I'm not saying that Levi's may not have ever done that in a more modern, type jean, but I've never seen it before on a vintage, so it's definitely not a vintage thing. And I've never seen it on a modern pair either, so this is definitely not looking good. So looking on the inside of the jean, you can just see this branding everywhere. It's like they're really trying hard to convince you that these are Levi's by putting Levi's on absolutely everything. And I think this is where they went wrong. Levi's is a good designed brand. They know how to use their branding in a way that's not over the top or ridiculous, and this appears to be pretty ridiculous. Here on the right pocket bag, you can actually see a patch. I've never seen Levi's put a patch like this inside a pair of jeans, and you can see that the rivets are like in weird places over the patch. That doesn't make sense. The patch itself doesn't look too terrible. It potentially even have been like an older Levi's patch. It's entirely possible that even some of these parts, like the Levi's stamped buttons and stuff, may even be legitimate Levi's parts that a manufacturer was able to get a hold of and then use for their own jeans. But it's so inconsistent and all over the place, it really sets off some big red flags. Here on the back side of the buttons, you can see that there's LS Co on the back side of the button fly buttons, and that's not a consistent thing with real legitimate Levi's. There should be a 3-digit number. Even on more modern jeans, there's a 3-digit number, even if that 3-digit number doesn't necessarily mean what it used to mean. There's typically still a 3-digit button on the back side of those buttons. Also notice here above that big patch is the care tag. This is not a care tag that's very familiar with even modern Levi's jeans. This long sort of thin thing, that's not a tag I think Levi's has ever used. Their more modern stuff is like silky and have like 4 or 5, it's like a little booklet inside there. And the ones that are a little bit older typically weren't put there at the front right pocket, they were put on the back. And they weren't long and skinny like that, so that's definitely not an element that I recognize in any modern or vintage Levi's at all. Also notice the left side pocket bag, and if you read what's actually written there, it's rather poor English. And you know, Levi's is an American company, so they're going to get their English right. And all throughout that little paragraph, there's a lot of nonsensical, poorly translated and poorly written text, clearly showing this is not a pair of jeans produced by Levi's themselves. So the verdict that I and the viewer reached was that these are clearly fake, produced by a company trying to rip off Levi's and try to convince you by plastering it all over every element of the jean. So that might be something to watch for when you're looking at jeans out in the wild. Whether or not, is there just a ridiculous excess of branding? That might be a first sign that there's some suspicious activity going on. Now, if you have a pair of jeans that you're suspicious of and you want some analysis, you can email us pictures at lootfam1@gmail.com. We'd love to take a look and help you figure out the authenticity of your pair of jeans. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you would, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.